Welcome back to the Go Reads This podcast. My name is Katie.
I'm Lexie.
And today we're going to be doing our deep dive on A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross, which we're so excited about. We are going to be non-spoiler for the first little bit of today's episode. We're going to do just our spoiler-free ratings and reviews, and then we'll go into a spoiler section. So if you've not read A River Enchanted yet, please go give it a read and then watch the first part of this episode, pause, read it, come back. But I am going to start today's episode as we normally do with a scripture of the episode. So our scripture of the episode today comes from Genesis chapter 2, and this is in the Message version. This is verses 26 through 28. I have bad eyes. Sorry, guys. Okay, so starting in verse 26, it says, God spoke, "Let us make human beings in our image, make them reflecting our nature, so they can be responsible for the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, the cattle, and yes, earth itself, and every animal that moves on the face of the earth." God created human beings. He created them godlike, reflecting God's nature. He created them male and female. God blessed them. Prosper, reproduce, fill earth, take charge. Be responsible for fish in the sea and birds in the air, for every living thing that moves on the face of earth.
I love that.
Yeah, I picked this verse for today's episode because as we're deep diving on A River Enchanted, a lot of the themes in this have to do with nature and earth and connecting to the earth, and I just really felt like it was important to go back to the original creation of the earth and how God actually did create us to connect with and have dominion over the earth and over nature and all of that. So, yeah.
I love it. Great pick.
Awesome. Well, we are going to go ahead into today's episode, which, do you want to just start by giving your rating of A River Enchanted?
Yeah, I believe I gave this 4 stars, and I'm sorry in advance, y'all. I read this probably 6 or 7 months ago. It's been a little bit.
Yeah.
But I believe I rated it the way I did because I read this right after Ruthless Vows. And is very different. Not bad, but different. I remember it being... The content is mature in the fact that there's concepts that aren't for YA, but in regards to relationships and language, it's YA relationships and language is what I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's I think Rebecca Ross writes primarily new adult, so it is going to be somewhere in between YA and adult. The language was primarily clean. There was some similar, if you've read Divine Rivals, similar to that when it came to the relationships in terms of the content of the scenes. So way more something is happening and you know it's happening, and it is in some sense described, but it's not in vulgar or gory detail. Yeah.
I wouldn't call it smut.
No, I wouldn't either.
There is a sex scene happening, and like you said, you know what's happening, but it's not like you said, vulgar. It's I think it's beautifully written the way but it's not for young adults.
No, I wouldn't recommend this book for anyone under the age of 16, but I would say late high school would be fine. If you're in high school, you're probably okay, but I wouldn't recommend it if you're, I mean, honestly, 14 is probably okay, 14, 15.
Depending on the maturity level, yeah.
But, yeah, some of the themes are more adult than other young adult fantasy, but yeah, I don't know. I would say this is more similar to young adult fantasy versus Divine Rivals. I would say Divine Rivals is more closer to adult fantasy, and A River Enchanted is closer to YA.
Okay, that's so funny because last time I went to Barnes & Noble, I saw Divine Rivals in YA, and I saw River Enchanted in adult.
Really?
Yeah. And
that's so interesting. Well, the characters are younger in A River Enchanted.
Yep.
The characters are supposed to be 18.
Yeah. I know, I was kind of something doesn't seem right here.
Maybe they didn't read it.
Maybe they mixed them up. I don't know. Anyway, that was just like a random story time, but
No, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't remember feeling like this was like an adult fantasy. Like,
No.
you could read it as an adult, sure.
Right.
But
And we both did, and really, really enjoyed it.
I don't feel like an adult in my brain.
Okay, well, that's fair.
But yeah. Yeah, I just thought that it was odd. But yeah, I remember overall really liking this book, and I remember liking the second one better.
Yeah, same.
I love, like, getting into the world building, though, so I think that's why I liked it.
There were also a lot more politics in the second one. You actually, like, know what's going on with the politics versus this one. You're getting, like, breadcrumbs of politics and things like that happening, but it's not, like, really expanded on or explained. It's way more, I would say A River Enchanted was very character driven, and A Fire Endless was a lot more politically driven or world driven.
I do remember thinking, I think I gave both of these like 4 stars separately, but as a duology, I think I gave it 5 stars. It's a really fun and pretty quick duology to get through. So I would say months later, I would probably do my rating like a 4.5.
Yeah. I have a similar, like, I think I rated both of them like 4 stars on Goodreads and 4.5 or something along those lines in my like reading journal, but I don't think either of them were 5 stars for me. I don't remember for sure, but I don't think they were.
I don't think so either.
But not for anything other than I felt honestly it was for the pacing. I felt like the pacing was a little bit inconsistent.
I 100% agree.
It either needed to the whole thing be like in depth and more drawn out, or the whole thing needed to be quicker, but there was a lot of like up and down with the pacing that felt like a little off.
I remember like thinking, and it could be, I read it like around Christmas, so it could have been that too, but like thinking like, oh my gosh, like I'm struggling to get through like these 3 chapters, and like all of a sudden like 6 chapters fly by, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so quick, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, like just get to a point, like
Yeah.
I feel like if a book is all slow, then like, okay, you kind of have that expectation, but when it's back and forth, I'm like, why is this happening?
Yeah, definitely. But that wasn't enough to like knock it down any more than half a star. Like it really
and
wasn't.
I still was really excited and encouraged to read the second book.
Same.
And I'm still like, I'll read almost anything she writes because both series that I've read from her have been so good in my humble opinion.
Yeah. No, I fully agree.
So
Yeah, so a little, if you haven't read A River Enchanted, just a quick, like, summary of the book. Basically, the main character of this book is Jack, and he has been living off on the mainland until before the beginning of A River Enchanted. His family and the rest of the story follows this island. That's where they all are living. So it's the island of Cadence, I believe, is the name of it. Yeah. And so Jack is summoned home to Cadence by someone who is basically saying, these girls are going missing and we're in trouble and we need help. And so they ask Jack to come back and help them figure out what's going on. And so he comes home to his mom and sister.
I think that happens really early in the book.
Yeah.
Like by chapter 6.
Yeah. Well, this is all on the back of the book.
Oh,
even.
Okay.
Yeah. So he comes home
to his family.
And there's this mystery element going on of like, why are these girls being taken? Who is taking them? What is going on? And there's this rivalry between one side of the island and the other, and they're separated by a line, and they're 2 different clans that are like rival clans. So there's a little bit of like political intrigue there, some mystery with the element of like the girls going missing, which is really cool. And then also on top of that, we have our character Jack, who is figuring out life back on the island after being away for a really long time.
Yep.
And he also is reconnecting with an old friend.
Yeah, love.
Yeah.
You saying that immediately makes me want to like go home and drop the book I'm reading and pick this back up.
It's so
magical.
good. It's very magical. It's very whimsical. It is a good like fantasy that just pulls you into the world.
Yeah, and I loved the mystery part of it. It really kept me like on my toes.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of time with fantasy, the mystery feels so surface level. Like, yeah, of course that's gonna happen in whatever like Fey land you're in.
Yeah.
This was like every single person on their side of the island was genuinely so hurt that these kids were being taken. Like, it affected
Yeah.
every single person on the island,
Yeah.
which then affects us. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
these girls.
Yeah. The other really cool thing I think about this book is the world that Rebecca Ross builds here is very unique to most other fantasies. So you're in an entirely new world, but a lot of the characters feel like normal people.
Exactly.
Like, sometimes you're reading a fantasy and you're like, yeah, okay, there's so much about this that's obviously not real.
Right. Yeah.
But this feels real.
It feels like you could go to a beach, swim to an island, and this could be the circumstance.
Yeah, absolutely.
She writes, like, so realism.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, what she's writing is, like, not real, obviously, but, like, the way she's able to write just makes it feel so legit, and, like, I could see myself being there.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's
So
so
good.
like, intoxicating to be in her worlds, I feel like.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah. Okay, we are going to go ahead into the deep dive portion of this episode. So if you've not read A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross, I would not keep watching this podcast because, for now, go read it, come back, watch it. But there are going to be spoilers, so stop here if you haven't read it. Spoiler warning.
We're not responsible for any spoilers you get from this point on.
Yes, we are going to be diving into
Your digression.
the book, and we will not have spoilers for A Fire Endless. We're not going to be talking about anything
Correct.
after A River Enchanted. So if you've read the first one but you haven't read the second one, that's okay.
You're safe here.
You're safe here. But you should read the second one because
100%.
what are you waiting for?
Honestly.
So
like,
good.
Like, yeah.
So for our deep dive today, Rebecca has so kindly given us these reading group guide questions. So we've picked 3 of these questions that we're just going to discuss that I think are so fun. Okay, so we're going to start, which I love this question so much because the island was so fascinating to me in this book.
Yeah.
But our question is, in what ways is the Isle of Cadence itself a character in the book, and how does it influence the story?
I think the biggest thing that jumps to my mind right away is the fact that the elements are literally alive. Like, there's, like, I imagine, you know, like those little people in, what's that Disney movie with Inside Out?
Oh,
That's what I imagine them, like, just running around in their little element colors, like, they're
so cute.
real and alive, which makes the whole island alive. Like, if you make the water spirit mad, like, the water can come and, like, drown you.
Yeah.
Which sounds terrifying, but it's so cool.
Yeah, it really is.
So cool.
I loved following, like, the even development, like the character development of the island.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like from the beginning it was pretty, like, tame and passive, and there wasn't a lot going on. And, you know, there's, like, Jack's mom being so invested in, like, the spiritual and doing different things for the spirits, like, has kind of kept them on their side. And then they've always had, like, this someone on the island that can play, like, the music to bring them about and to also, like, appease them and keep them happy. And so we see that at the beginning where, like, the spirits are starting to get a little unsettled, but they're still pretty kind and pretty tame. And then as the story goes on and the plot picks up and we go deeper into, like, all these different things that are happening, it almost turns, like, menacing. Like, we're seeing,
like, get scared.
Like, we're seeing this change, this almost like villain arc of the island itself, which is just so cool because it's not a living thing in and of itself, but it is at the same time.
I love how in the story the protagonist is Jack and the antagonist you think the whole time is the other side of the island, but, like, eventually you realize the island is part of the problem. In some ways, the island is actually... and I think we see that really in, what's the word, like, in the spotlight with Sidra, who does everything she's supposed to do. She leaves offerings for the island. She worships the island.
Oh, is that... No, that's not Sidra. That's the mom.
And Sidra does too.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, she does.
I think the mom also is like this, but what I'm thinking with Sidra is she does everything she's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then one day, I think, like, I forget, she said something like, you know, maybe I don't trust the island anymore. And then, like, the next day she gets attacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So crazy.
But, like, I love it.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, like, the exact timeline of everything and what happened in A River Enchanted versus A Fire Endless, because I do know that there is even more once you get into the next one on, like, what's actually going on in the spirit world, which I definitely don't want to spoil any of that. Not. But there is a lot with the island itself and the river, like,
oh yeah,
being what it is, being flowing and alive, and
for sure.
But also, like, being meddlesome in a lot of ways. Like, I look at the river as, like, this mischievous little, you know?
It's causing problems, like, between the two sides, like, yeah.
But, like, on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like
a Sour Patch Kid, like, first they're sour.
Yes.
Like, it's like stupid little, like, let me just do this. And then, like, the two islands blame the other sides the whole time. They never assume it's the river, or the
elements,
islands.
Yeah, the island at all.
It's so unique, and again, without going too much into A Fire Endless, I think in A River Enchanted, it's kind of on the back burner that the island is alive, but as the story goes on, like, it becomes a main character. Yeah. Especially in the second one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is so cool. Like, character development, I never thought I needed.
Right? Yes. Yeah, I love that question. I love pondering that.
Oh my gosh, I love this question.
Okay, how does the world of the elemental spirits reflect the human realm and vice versa? So, like, how
the beginning part.
How does the elemental world reflect the human world and vice versa? Which I love this because it goes even deeper into, like, what we were talking about with the island being alive. Yeah. It's like, okay, the river is, like, meddling in the business of the two sides. And not only that, but it is becoming increasingly problematic as the two sides are becoming increasingly argumentative. Right. So more stuff is happening between the humans, and then the earth, like the elements, are starting to, like, continue to have more conflict and more conflict as the two clans are continuing to have more conflict and more conflict. Yeah. Which is just so interesting.
So interesting. They definitely mirror each other. Yeah. And then I felt like the elements would, like, kind of, again, they would meddle to, like, encourage the two clans to fight and argue and cause issues, because everything's going on and they're fighting, produce isn't being grown and all this stuff, and then they're relying more on the elements. So they're like, well, if I keep meddling and they keep fighting, then they're going to keep worshiping me harder and harder and harder.
The use of magic comes at a high cost in the East, as we learned. Which enchantments appealed to you the most?
I think personally the healing enchantments. Just because I've always had a heart to help people. Yeah. So that's what, like, comes to mind first. Yeah. Is just being able to heal people with certain remedies and magic, and would be really cool.
That would be cool. You'd be like, that's Cedra, right? That does the healing.
Yeah, I don't know if she has healing power or if she just does, like, the remedies, but something like that, yeah.
I honestly think weaving is really fascinating.
Yeah, that too.
Because I love the idea of being able to, like, create something out of your hands that has a specific quality that you need out of it.
Yeah, that was my second one. That one's really neat and so fascinating.
So cool.
I would love to rack Rebecca Ross's mind. Where did she come up with that?
Absolutely. Do you think the price of the enchantments is worth it?
Yes. I think it's well known in every single fantasy magic book. Like, magic comes at a price. Yeah. Otherwise, like, there would be no consequence for doing bad things with that magic. Yeah. So I think the consequence is valid in this case.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's situational, because even with like the weaving, when we saw the types of things that she was creating, for the most part, they were protective. Like, it was for the sake of, like, what do you call
the shawl thing?
Yeah, I don't remember what the name for it was.
No, me either,
but
like, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like when, like, she was really weaving items that were absolutely necessary for their clan in order to protect themselves. But there were also elements and things that had been created that were not, like, they were harmful.
Right.
And I don't remember exactly which things came up in the first one, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
But I do know that part of it can be you can weave things for harm rather than good. And so I think that the price is actually important, and the fact that that on their side of the island there is a price, but on the other side of the island
there's not.
Yeah. It makes it like really clear that the price is necessary because of how harsh the other side of the island had become.
Yeah, because the other side is like they're like weaving like
weapons.
Right. But they don't have a consequence. So like, yeah, I can weave whatever I want. It doesn't matter. But the side that gets consequences, they're like, I have to make what I weave important or worth
and valuable. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a really prime example on why the consequences are necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't in the back, but how did you feel about like the relationships in this book?
I really loved them. I think she did a great job of capturing every type of relationship. Married couple.
Yeah.
In progress, relational.
Yeah, like the young couple.
Yes.
But like not.
Coming of age couple kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mom to kid to parent.
Yeah.
Friend to friend. Person to mentor. There's a lot of dynamics in this book, and I think she did a great job with every single one of them. I felt like the one that stands out is Jack in what's his mentor's name? I forget.
Torin? Is that who you're talking about?
No, like the other harp player's husband.
Oh, the like king emperor guy. I can't remember right now.
Anyway, that was like his mentor, and their relationship I think is so unique because Jack is so mad at him.
Yeah.
For like not being truthful with some situation. Oh, this is the spoiler. We can spoil.
We can spoil it. Yeah, we can spoil.
Jack's mad at him for not telling Jack that the girl, his wife who played the harp, died.
Yeah.
And not being like truthful on why he was. Did he call him to the island? No, Adarna called him to the island. That's not her name in Darna.
No, Adara.
Adara.
Yeah, she was the one that asked him there, but he thought it was her dad. Yeah.
Yes, and he was like angry with him and resentful, and then kind of like turns like, you're my mentor, I respect you, there's a reason for it. And I feel like that's so true. Like, you get mad at people who mentor you or anyone, but you're like, actually, you had my best interest at mind. And I don't know, I think she does a great job representing a whole bunch of different relationships in this book.
Yeah. My personal favorite relationship was between Jack and his little sister.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They are just so precious. And the way that I think probably a lot of why I love this relationship so much is that I have a baby sister who's like way, way, way younger than me. And she is still like little in elementary school, And so honestly, reading about Jack and his baby sister is like, and I also have a little brother, but he's an adult, and it's like watching my little brother and my baby sister.
Okay.
Just
that's
like
so cute.
Such a precious like portrayal of this like big protective older brother, but that's so much older than the baby sister that he's like able to actually instill wisdom rather than just being like, I feel like when kids are closer in age, there's this like picking on that happens. But because like baby girl doesn't have a dad, Jack kind of steps in and takes on this more like father figure for her. And this like, here is like an actual like male in your life that can show you like what you need
The
to
ropes,
understand about, like, men in the world. And
Yeah.
I just think that's such a cool thing in their relationship dynamic specifically that I
sure.
really enjoyed watching. And I loved how much Jack matured by how much he saw his baby sister needing him.
For sure.
And how much that just, like, really grew him up.
Yeah. I love, like, in the beginning when he finds out about her, like, he runs.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know he has a sister. Like,
Right.
he's on the main island doing his school, and he comes back and he has, like, what, like, six-year-old sister or something?
Yeah, she's little.
Like, 4.
Yeah.
I would say
I think she's, like,
4 and
6. I think she's
Okay,
older,
6.
yeah.
Like, imagine not knowing you had a sibling. And he comes in and he's like, he runs away. He's like, no,
But like, hello, what?
Yeah. But then, like, he's like, oh my gosh, like, little girls are going missing on this island. I have a little girl on this island that is, like, mine, basically.
My family, yeah.
And then he, like, really quick is like, I gotta get my mind right, and runs, like, back home, which I just thought was so cool and such a testament to Jack's character and his true values.
Yes, absolutely.
Minus his flaws, which, honestly, I feel like he doesn't have that many flaws.
Although I do like how his flaws, like, came out, because I feel like it made him really real as a person.
Yeah.
And I loved his development of seeing him, like, being this very immature, very selfish, like, just little boy in the beginning.
Very much so.
To then, at the end, like, sacrificing his relationship, like, letting her choose what she wanted to do, and being like, no, I understand, you need to do this, and if you don't want me with you, then, like, okay. And he was willing to sacrifice his music to go with her.
Yeah, which is so big.
Yeah.
So big, because that's, like, his life.
That was all that mattered to him originally.
Yeah, that's why he left the island, like, to go pursue music. It was so big of him.
So cool.
Yeah. I also love how at first he did not want to play for the elements. He was like,
right,
no. And then he's like, actually, that was a very selfish thing.
She
trained me on the harp so I could take over her, whether he knew that or not.
Yep.
And now she's gone, and I have to step up and be a man and play for the island.
Yeah.
And he did.
Like, I need to play my part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was so cool.
This book is so magical, guys.
It was so good.
It's really butterflies, like, rehashing this.
I know. I loved this book so much. It was so good.
We're really big Rebecca Ross stands on this channel.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Huge fans of Rebecca Ross.
Yeah.
Rebecca, if you want to come for an interview, we would be honored.
So honored.
Not that would ever happen, but
maybe
it would. Maybe it would. Anyway, yeah. Do you have any other, like, final thoughts on this book?
No, I think we really got deep into this today.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I can think of that I wanted to add.
Okay.
What about you?
No, I think that's good. I would love to know if someone else loved A River Enchanted, what book would you recommend that they read next?
I would definitely recommend What the River Knows by Isabella Banez. One, she's Rebecca Ross's best friend in real life. Their writing is pretty similar. Different. They're different people, but similar. But it has the elements of kind of like the world isn't magic in her book. But there's a river, like the Nile River, I'm sure you've heard of it, in this book, and they're traveling across it, and it is like a historical fantasy. It is so fun. The romance is so cute. It's clean. It's magical. If you like Egypt kind of lore and stuff, definitely read it. I honestly could care less about Egypt culture.
Mm-hmm. Egyptian lore.
Yeah, but I had such a fun time with this book. And the vibes are kind of similar. Very summery. So
if you enjoyed A River Enchanted, the recommendation I would say you should read next is Circe by Madeline Miller. Okay. The reason why I recommend this is specifically if you liked the Celtic, like, lore and mythology part of this and the, like, spirits and that kind of thing going on. Circe is a Greek mythology retelling, and it's also... she is on an island, and she has a similar kind of thing going on to, like, the weavers. So if weaving was something that was, like, really fascinating to you, there's an element in Circe of that. I will say it's much slower. I would say Circe is probably adult fantasy. It's not spicy from what I can remember, but it's way more complex.
Okay.
Like, you could still read it if you're, the same age. Like, I would say same age, but it's harder to understand than A River Enchanted, and way fewer characters, so very much, like, singular character driven.
Gotcha.
But the world building is so cool, and the situation, she's, like, isolated on an island, basically, instead of the person comes home to, like, family on an island. It's like she is, like, banished to an island by herself.
Gotcha.
But there are other characters that come in, and there are very cool, interesting things that happen. But yeah, if you like the mythology part of A River Enchanted, I would recommend Cersei.
Love. I've been dying to read that book.
It's really good.
It reminds me of, I forget which Percy Jackson book, where they go to the island of Cersei.
Uh-huh.
And I'm, like, in my brain that is, like, part of the Greek mythology.
It is.
Not Percy Jackson going to him.
Not Percy Jackson going,
Like,
no.
you said, people come visit her on the island, and my mind's like, Percy Jackson was So,
that's funny.
Yeah. I have to get out. The only, like, Greek mythology retelling I've read is Percy Jackson, and I have to,
branch out.
very much so.
I'm reading Lore right now, and I am really
cool.
liking it.
I love that.
That one, I can't recommend it yet because I haven't finished it, but I'm a little more than halfway, and I am really, really liking it, and it's a modern fantasy. So it's urban fantasy. It takes place in New York City.
Ooh.
Which is very cool. So
cool.
Can't recommend it. I don't know, but I believe it's YA. It has been so far.
All her other books are YA.
Okay. Yeah, and it's another Greek mythology. So if you're into mythology,
okay, maybe we should stop talking about this and make a episode on Greek mythology.
maybe after we've read a few more.
Yeah, maybe sometime in the future.
Sometime
Stay
in the
tuned. Anyway.
All right. Well, are you any final thoughts? Okay.
No.
Thank you guys. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like, a rating, follow us on social media. We're on everywhere at goread.sis. We are now on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify and YouTube. So
that's exciting.
You can watch or listen anywhere really that you would normally go watch or listen to podcasts. Mm-hmm. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next Tuesday for another episode of Go Read Sis.
Bye.
Bye.